In this video, we will show the installation of the WD Electronics turn signal kit for 2026 and newer Polaris Ranger 500 models. The following front turn signal styles will be demonstrated: sequential LEDs and round amber LEDs. First, release the front hood panel by pulling down and out on the rubber locking tabs on both sides, located under the 500 logos. Once the locks are released, lift the hood panel forward into the upright position. Next, you will remove the dashboard panel. Start by removing the two push pins above the battery access panel. Remove the two T40 bolts. Next, remove the two T40 bolts and the push pin from the center cubby on top of the dash panel. Finally, remove the T40 bolt that is directly above the clip for the rubber locking tabs for the hood release on each side. Gently pull the dash up to release the plastic clips. Once the clips are released, gently pull the panel around the clip for the door nuts and remove the dash panel from the machine. Remove the 10mm nut from the right side of the tilt piston for the steering column. Leave the bolt installed through the tilt piston. Wrap the black bracket attached to the turn signal switch over the steering column. Slide the mounting point over the bolt. Verify that the body of the turn signal lever is parallel with the steering wheel. Reinstall the nut onto the bolt and tighten it down to secure. Feed the wiring for the turn signal switch under the dash. You may need to tilt the steering wheel all the way down to fit the plug through the opening in the rubber grommet. Secure the wiring for the turn signal switch to the steering column with zip ties. You will now mount the control module. We recommend mounting the control module under the dash panel in the center of the machine, below the 12-volt accessory outlet. Mark two of the holes using a marker or center punch. Remove the control module and drill holes in the two marked locations using a 1/4 inch drill bit. Be careful when drilling not to damage anything on the other side of the panel. Once the holes are drilled, place the control module onto the mounting location and secure it with the included bolts. We recommend feeding the bolts up through the holes in the lower center cubby and installing the nuts under the dash to secure the module. Route the wiring for the turn signal lever, covered in black wire loom, from the control module towards the turn signal switch wiring. Connect the wires together using the mating connectors. Verify that the connectors click into place fully. If you purchased the sequential LED strips, skip to this time in the video. If you purchased the 6 LED harness, proceed to this time. Start by loosening the top headlight adjustment screw by turning it clockwise. Once there's a 1/4 inch gap between the top of the headlight housing and the hood panel, fold the hood down and secure it with the rubber locking tabs you released in the disassembly step. Locate the sequential LED strips in your turn signal kit. Our recommended location for the LEDs is between the top of the headlight housing and the hood panel. Feed the wire from the LED strip between the headlight housing and the hood panel, towards the center of the hood. Start feeding the other end of the strip into the outside edge of the headlight. Once the LED is at the corner of the headlight housing, feed the remaining length of the LED strip between the hood panel and the headlight housing. Repeat the installation on the passenger side. Once both LED strips are in place, carefully open the hood and tighten the headlight adjustment screw by turning it counterclockwise to secure the strips in place. Locate the harness for the LED strips with the two black boxes. Connect the harness to the control module using the mating 4-pin connectors. Route the wires following the factory wiring harness out from under the dash and under the hood. Continue following the wiring for the headlight housing to the LED strips. Route the wire with the driver's side label to the driver's side LED strip and the other wire to the passenger side headlight. Make the connection to the LED strip using the mating connectors and tighten the metal rings to secure the connection. Secure the wires under the hood to the factory wiring harness. Secure any extra length of wire under the dash using the included zip ties. Secure the two black ballasts for the LED strips near the control module under the dash. Start by folding down the hood and securing it with the rubber locking tabs you released during disassembly. You may be creative and mount the LEDs wherever you'd like, provided there is 2 to 3 inches of space behind your desired mounting location. Mark and drill the 3 3/4 inch holes under each front headlight or wherever you'd like. Verify there are no mounting points or anything that can be damaged behind your selected locations before drilling. Repeat on the passenger side. Locate the extension harness in your turn signal kit. It should have 2 4-pin connectors on it. Route the connector with the orange seal following the factory wiring harness under the dash near the battery on the passenger's side. Continue following the factory harness across the machine to the control module. Make the connection to the mating connector on the control module. Verify that the connectors click into place. Locate the 6 LED harness and connect it to the mating connector on the extension harness. Verify that the connectors click into place. Locate the side of the harness with the driver's side label. Route the 3 LEDs to the driver's side headlight and the other set of LEDs to the passenger side headlight. Route the wires following the factory wiring as closely as possible. Install the 3 LEDs on the driver's side by pulling the rubber grommet off each LED and down onto the wires. Feed each LED through the back of the holes you drilled. Now, feed each rubber grommet through the backside of the holes. Install each rubber grommet into the holes, making sure they are fully seated. Next, push the LEDs into each rubber grommet to secure them in place. Make sure that the lines on the lens of each LED are facing the same direction for the most consistent look. Repeat the installation on the passenger side. Secure the wires to the factory wiring for the headlights as closely as possible and away from any hot or moving components. Secure any extra length of wire under the dash. Start by removing the taillights. Remove the 2 T20 screws from the top and bottom of the taillight. Pull the taillight housing out of the bed. Starting on the driver's side taillight, disconnect the 3-pin connector by lifting the locking tab and sliding the connector free. Locate the 3-pin inline adapter with the extra black and blue 2-pin plug. Install the adapter in line with the factory taillight wiring and the driver's side taillight housing. Verify that both sides click into place. Remove the 2 T20 screws on the passenger side. Disconnect the 3-pin connector from the taillight. Locate the 3-pin inline adapter with the long white wire. Install the adapter in line with the factory taillight wiring and the taillight housing. Verify that both sides click into place. Route the white wire through the taillight cavity, following the factory wiring under the bed. Follow the factory wiring across the bed, routing the wire over the 2 cross members along the way. Once you reach the driver's side of the machine, route the wire up and out of the taillight cavity. To route the long black cable in your turn signal kit, you will need to remove the center tunnel cover from the floor in the cab. To do this, remove the 8 push pins from the cover. Gently pull the cover up and out of the machine. Locate the long black cable It has a 3-pin connector on one side and 3 bullet terminals on the other side. Connect the 3-pin connector to the mating connector on the control module. Verify that the connectors click into place. You will route the cable following the factory sheathed wiring harness with blue tape to the back of the machine. Route the bullet connectors following the factory wiring out of the dash. Pull the length of cable through. Route the wire down past the driver's side axle, following the factory wiring with the blue tape. Route the wire back into the cab. Locate the wire in the center tunnel floor area and pull the length through. Continue routing the wire under the driver's side floor panel, following the factory wiring. Next, fold the bench seat up towards the steering wheel by pulling from the back side. Locate the cable under the seat and continue following the factory wiring out of the rear firewall. Tilt the dump bed and locate the cable. Pull the length of cable through. Continue following the factory wiring for the taillights until the cable is at the driver's side taillight housing. At the driver's taillight, make the 3 connections between the long black cable and the taillight adapters using the color-coded bullet connections. Make sure to connect the wires red to red, black to black, and white to white, and that the plastic insulation is fully covering each connection. Hold the black mounting bracket up to your desired location on the metal frame under the tailgate on the driver's side. Using the bracket, mark the position for the 2 holes using a marker or center punch. Hold the bracket in place and use the 2 included self-tapping screws to secure it to the frame. Use a pair of scissors or side cutters and cut a small 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch tab out of the top of your license plate. Leave enough space for the wires on the LED frame to come through. Bend the tab over so it lies flat. Install your trimmed license plate into the LED license plate frame. Line up the top 2 holes on the frame with the holes on the mounting bracket. Secure the frame and license plate to the mounting bracket using the 4 included bolts and nylon lock nuts. Make sure the wiring is not pinched before fully securing everything down. Locate the power cable in your license plate kit. It has a black and blue 2-pin connector on one end and 2 bullet terminals on the other end. Connect the black and blue 2-pin connector to the mating connector on the driver's side taillight adapter. Verify that the connectors click into place. Route the bullet terminals following the factory wiring harness to the license plate frame. Connect the power cable to the LED frame using the mating bullet terminals. Verify that it is connected red to red and black to black, and that the plastic insulation is fully covering each connection. Secure the wiring away from any hot or moving components. Any extra length of cable can be secured in the space behind the taillight. You can now reinstall the taillights and secure the white wire to the factory wiring harness. Go back and secure the black cable to the factory wiring harness along the length of the machine with the included zip ties. Make sure the cable does not contact any hot or moving components, and secure any extra length of cable to the factory wiring harness underneath the floor. You will now install the horn. On the passenger side of the machine, locate the relay block for the winch along the frame just below the battery and above the shock. Remove the T30 bolt from the relay block. Locate the mounting bracket for your horn. Insert the side of the bracket with the larger hole between the frame and the relay block. Reinstall the bolt. Locate your horn housing and install it into the bracket using the included nut, hand tight. You may need to bend the bracket up slightly so it doesn't rattle against anything. You may also prefer to wait to install the horn until after you have the harness plugged in, as it is a tight space to make those connections. Choose an open rocker switch slot in your dash. Cut out your desired rocker switch opening with a razor blade. Feed the entire horn harness through the slot and verify that the rocker switch is facing the correct direction, and clip the switch into place in the dash. Locate the black and blue 2-pin connector behind the dash. Connect the 2-pin connector to the mating connector on the control module. Locate the remaining red and black wires with spade terminals. Route them out of the dash, following the factory wiring and the headlight harness you routed. Locate the wires under the hood and pull the length of cable through. Route the wires following the factory wiring as closely as possible until you reach the horn housing. Connect the spade terminals to the posts on the horn. These connections are reversible, and you may connect them in either direction. Secure the nut and horn down the rest of the way. Secure the wiring with zip ties following factory wiring or the frame as closely as possible. Make sure to secure the wiring away from any hot or moving components. You will now install the 2 blue LEDs to indicate which direction your turn signal is flashing. Our recommended location is in the bezel for the rocker switches. You may be creative and mount these wherever you like, provided that the wiring harness will reach, and there is a 2 to 3 inch gap behind the panel you'll be mounting to. Once you have verified there's room behind your desired mounting location, mark the holes for the 2 LEDs and drill the 2 holes with a 3/8 inch to 7/16 inch drill bit or step drill bit. Install the rubber O-ring around each LED and slide it to the top. Install 1 LED into each hole and install the locking washer and nut on the back side of the plastic and tighten them down. Next, locate the harness for the blue LEDs. It should have a 4-pin connector on one side and 4 spade terminals on the other side. The side of the harness that matches up to the orange and gray wire on the control module connector will power the left driver's side indicator, and the side that matches up with the blue and gray wires on the control module connector will power the right passenger's side indicator. Connect the red and black spade for the driver's side wire to the left LED, and the red and black spade for the passenger's side to the right LED. The red and black wires for each LED can be connected in either direction. They are reversible. Route the harness to the control module, following factory wiring as closely as possible. Connect the 4-pin connector to the mating connector on the control module. Verify that the connectors click into place. Secure any extra wire to the factory wiring harness under the dash. Locate the power cable in your turn signal kit. There are 2 bullet terminals on one side and a ring terminal and a 1-pin connector on the other side. Remove the 10mm nut and washer from the negative battery post. Install the ring terminal on the negative battery post and reinstall the washer and nut. Next, remove the dust cap from the 1-pin plug on the orange wire next to the battery. Connect the mating plug on the power cable to the connector where you removed the dust cap. Verify that the connectors click into place. Route the bullet terminals on the other end of the power cable, following the factory wiring harness under the dash. Continue routing the bullet connectors to the control module. Once you reach the control module, connect the bullet terminals to the control module. Verify that they are connected red to red and black to black, and that the plastic insulation is fully covering each connection. Secure any extra wire to the factory wiring harness under the dash. Now, it's time to reassemble and test out your lights. To ask us installation-related questions or to order a premium turn signal kit, please visit wdelectronics.com.